Barnstable. Twin brothers have been indicted on charges they beat two residents in a Yarmouth home last month. A Barnstable County grand jury indicted Matthew P. Tottenham and Ryan E. Tottenham, 25, both 25, and of Yarmouth, and on 2 counts of armed assault with intent to murder, 2 counts of home invasion, 1 count of armed burglary, 6 counts of assault and battery with a dangerous weapon, and 2 counts of assault and battery. Additionally, Matthew Tottenham was charged with felony breaking and entry and assault and battery with a dangerous weapon. Ryan Tottenham was also charged with 2 counts of child endangerment. The charges stem from an investigation in which the brothers allegedly broke into a Yarmouth home and beat a man and woman on November 15th, according to Times archives. The Tottenhams allegedly stabbed and beat the man with a sledgehammer and beat the woman with a bat, according to Times archives. Both alleged victims ended up in Cape Cod Hospital, with the woman in the intensive care unit. According to Times archives, they identified the Tottenhams as the attackers. An arrest was made after police responded to a domestic disturbance call in Dennis and searched for 3 hours for the brothers, according to Times archives. Well, unfortunately, this is my story of one of the worst nights of my entire life. And unfortunately, it's not one that everybody agrees with. Yeah, there was a woman involved. She acted more like a man, if you ask me. But the man involved I grew up with. It was the woman's idea to put rat poison and battery acid in a bag of dope and then find my brother, who was addicted to heroin, roaming the streets, and sell him this bag of dope, knowing that he would die if he shot her. Then they went and bragged about it, telling everybody in the neighborhood that they had killed my brother. Then someone called me, telling me, "Matt, you better call your brother because these two are saying they just sold him a hot shot and that they killed him." So I call him and I'm like, "Ryan, what's going on, bro?" Because he answered the phone, and thank God he answered the phone. Because if he didn't answer that phone, these two may not be breathing and I may not be free. This is no joke. This is a serious incident that happened. I'm going to tell you my point of view. Not the newspapers, not my brother's, not Brianna's, not Billy's. My point of view. Not the police's point of view, not the court's point of view. My point of view. What happened that day, starting from the morning until night. When I woke up that morning, I woke up like any normal day. I was on 100 milligrams of methadone. I had actually been clean for that 2 weeks leading up to this situation. I had enough. I was homeless in Boston on the streets. I had shot a bag of dope, a gram actually, trying to kill myself with an intention to never wake up again. I went into a coma and was kept alive for about 3 days while I was asleep. They called my parents and told them that that they should come and visit. They should come and see me because it wasn't looking good or something of that nature. And I went to a program and got a little bit of help. I ended up going back with this girl. Now her name's Devin. She's a co-defendant in my case. She's the person who allegedly drove the vehicle. She also was one of the people who told on me. Now, this girl had been going out with a kid that I grew up with, a childhood friend of mine, Jason Schultz. He was a notorious person in my area, and he was actually in jail for assaulting her. He beat her up in a Stop and Shop aisle after he found a letter from somebody in Shirley Max writing his girlfriend. And he walked all the way there and body slammed her in an aisle. Now, that is besides the point, and I don't want to get off track, but she had taken the stand during his trial and lied on the stand, saying that wasn't her that he beat up, it wasn't him on the camera, and they gave her a contempt of court for lying. So the day goes along as usual until about 12 o'clock in the afternoon when somebody called me telling me that I should call my brother because these people are saying they killed him. So when I call him, he answers the phone. I'm like, "Ryan, what's going on?" He's like, "Oh, nothing, man." He's all high, I could tell. But nonetheless, I asked him, "What's going on? Did you buy heroin off these people?" And he said, "Yeah, I did, but when I went to go do it, I opened the bag and I seen a pellet looking thing in there. So I tasted it, didn't taste right, and I smelled it, didn't smell right, so I didn't do it. I saved it. And I'm like, well, don't do it because it's a hot shot, and these two are saying that they killed you. And so I told him to mount up because I wasn't having that. I was tired of this situation. I was really tired of my brother running around and getting in all kinds of problems due to his drug addiction. When I got out of jail, like the second night I was out, he called me for help because there was these people surrounding him in this parking lot, and he had robbed them for perk 30s and all this other stuff. And I had just been doing this over and over, coming to his aid and saving him and stuff like that. But, you know, I love my brother. He was just mixed up in drugs really bad. And he had a serious addiction, and it wasn't going his way. He had gotten a divorce from his wife. He caught her doing something. I don't even know what it was. Like, maybe he didn't catch her doing anything. I don't want to get into that, right? I love Jamie. I love Ryan. And, again, beside the point. So when I tell him, I call him up. I'm like, yo, tie your sneakers up. We're going a ride on these motherfuckers because I'm not gonna let someone try to kill my family and then get away with it. We go to my house. I grab my father's rifle. It was like a 22 pellet / bullet BB something, whatever. It was just like if it was a heavy weapon, I didn't have it to shoot somebody with. I had it because I knew that they had a weapon in the house, and I wasn't trying to let them pull it on me, so I was gonna draw on them with this, and hopefully make them freeze while I grabbed their weapon from them, or grabbed it from took it out of the situation so that they couldn't use it, and then beat them up, right? So I go and I pick him up. We drive to my house. It's about 5 o'clock at night at this point. We grab the gun out of my father's underneath his bed. There was a sledgehammer we had for the door, and I had a folding buck knife in my pocket. Then we drove to the scene. I called up a friend of mine. She had expressed some feelings towards these people because Billy was her kid's father. Billy had cheated on her with this girl, Brianna, and they had just had a baby, and he got the baby taken away for being high in the hospital and nodding out in front of DSS workers and things like that. And so they followed him into the room to make sure he was going to go visit her, and then took the baby out of her arms. Then he left her and went with this girl. Like, truly stand up if you can ask me, you know what I mean? But I don't know. So we get in the whip and we drive over there. My girl knows where she lives. This kid was supposed to come with me, and this other girl was supposed to come with me, but they both backed out in the last minute, smartly. I don't blame them at all. The two victims in my case had tied up and robbed my friend's kid's mother and her mother, and left the baby in the crib with these two tied up and hog-tied and rags stuffed in their mouths and stuff, and then left them like that with the baby in the crib just for $1,000 and a finger of dope. So he had wanted to come with me to beat them up, but he backed out in the last second, which is actually a good thing because come to find out, he told on a pharmacy robbery like a year, 2 years later maybe, on this kid Ronnie, who I also know from my neighborhood. When we're driving over there, I get this news they don't want to come. Now my girl wants to come in and get the girl because I didn't want to hit the girl, neither did my brother. But at the last second I told her, nah, stay in the car, because she had her kid with her, 2 kids with her. I just didn't want her involved in the situation as much as I could possibly avoid it. Now, I didn't expect what happened to happen when I went in that house. I had no idea that everything that transpired would actually go down the way it went down. When we pulled up into the neighborhood, we parked behind this place called Bonkers Party Zone. It used to be the old pool hall, but they changed it into a child's playpen. But they still had night vision cameras in the back of the parking lot because there had been a lot of stabbings and fights in there before they closed the pool hall down. So little did I know, night vision cameras were in the back of this Bonkers Party Zone. And then I walked into the projects. Now, the projects are one street over. When I went up to the door, I knocked on the door, and I was like standing there looking at my brother. Somebody opened the door and put their foot in the back of the door and was like, "Yo, nigga, who is it?" I looked at my brother like, "Really? This is who you're messing with, who you're buying drugs from?" So I knocked again. Boom, boom, boom. I said, "Yo, nigga, who is it?" I knocked again. I said, "Yo, nigga," I said, "who is it?" I looked at Ryan and I just was like, you know what? Boom. I showed the door in, and then I blasted her. She went flying across the room. And I came in, I went to the room to the right to look for Billy because that was my intended victim. I didn't care about her. I just, she pissed me off too because she was the mastermind who tried to kill my brother. But at the end of the day, she's a woman and I just wanted to get him. So I go in and I look for him. Ryan goes straight. He catches Billy trying to lock himself in the bathroom. So I see that and I run over and I take the gun and I swing it over the top of my head. I catch Ryan, clip him in the shoulder, and then I hit him. Now I began beating him in the head and the gun broke over his head and the butt of the gun flew into the bathtub and I ended up splitting his head, and while he was screaming, "Matt, stop, you're gonna kill me, Matt, stop, you're gonna kill me, Matt, stop, you're gonna kill me." In my mind, I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna kill you, but I'm gonna make you think you're gonna die. So I told him like, yo, look, I'm the one who's killing you tonight, and honestly, he must have been scared out of his mind. I really didn't want to kill him. I had no intentions on killing him. And my brother really just was there to get into a fight. He didn't use a weapon or anything. And I just went ham. I had bloodlust. And now, if anybody's ever been through a situation like this, bloodlust is real. When I started hitting him and the blood coming out, I just like had this feeling bubble up in me. It was just like rage, hatred. And I just was hitting him and hitting him and hitting him and hitting him and hitting him. And the girl ended up like jumping on my brother's back, and like Ryan like shrugged her off and threw her on the ground. And on my way out, I hit her in the ribs a few times with the gun, shattered her ribs and ruptured her spleen. We leave, we get out of there. Boom. There was some screaming like blood curdling screams coming out of the house. We get out of there, we get in the car. I'm covered in blood. Ryan's covered in blood. And my girl's like, "What happened? What happened?" And I just kept my mouth shut at the time. I kept my mouth shut. I didn't talk. We get back to the house. I had been sober, so when we got back, I started drinking beers and taking Klonopins because I had just felt so messed up about the situation. And, not for nothing, I still had that adrenaline. And at the time, I had no remorse in my mind. Like, I was just thinking, like, they got what they deserve. They were out there trying to kill people, and just it was just nuts. In my mind, I thought, they're the crazy ones. They're the ones that were messed up. They're the ones that were doing the wrong thing. Now, when the cops got to their house, they told on me right away. It was Matt and Ryan taunting him. It was Matt and Ryan taunting him. Screaming, the kid saying, I'm gonna die. It was Matt taunting him. I'm gonna die. It was Matt taunting him. And, honestly, I would never do such a thing. The kid was out there ripping off old ladies, ripping off just Joe Citizen and Sally Public. Like, he wasn't doing the right thing. He was a junkie, and he had been arrested earlier that day for driving without a license, and then earlier that week, him and Brianna were both caught in the car with needles in their arms and their kid in the backseat. So I had known all this prior to going in there, and I didn't like them at all. I didn't have anything in my mind like, oh, I'm worried about hurting them and worried about traumatizing them. They had hurt and traumatized so many at that point that I just really didn't care. When I'm back at my girl's house and I'm kind of rethinking the situation now, I was hyped up, and this girl started calling my girl and telling her she was pregnant, and it just got wilder and wilder and wilder. And honestly, the reason why I'm telling you this story is because you can look it up, and yeah, it's gonna come out. So why not just get ahead of the game and tell people what really happened? Tell you that I am a changed person today. I would never do that. Never, never, never do that ever again. Do I wish I could change it? Yeah, I do. I do. I really do. I wish I could go back in time and wear a mask. I'm just joking. No, I wish I could go back in time and never go in that house. I would have put my brother in treatment and just called it that. He would have had his son. He would have grew up being able to have a father. And those two maybe would have gone on and killed somebody. Sad but true. They might have gone on and sold somebody else a hot shot thinking that they got away with it once. Why not? Why couldn't they get away with it again? I don't know. They would have went on. They did go on. They got arrested for masked armed robbery a little bit later on. But when I got arrested that night, I was in the police station and I was all clawing up and out. And I was thinking in my head, like, I'm going to beat this case and go home. I went to sleep. When I woke up, I was on 100 milligrams of methadone. When I went to jail, those first 3 months were hell. My brother told me, oh, don't worry about it. You'll be all right. So I go in and I'm in my cell and I'm thinking, you know, it's going to be nothing. 2 days go by and now I felt a little crummy, but I was like, this is cool. I could deal with this. So I'm starting to go to court. I'm sick, real sick, dope sick. Methadone coming off, that was really, really bad. I was kicking Klonopins, methadone. I had been taking Adderall for that, you know, maybe a couple years every day, and I was a mental wreck, and I wouldn't recommend. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. No lie, I really wouldn't. Not a cliche. Not just saying that. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. It is a horrible experience that nobody should ever have to go through. And that's why I think that they made it illegal to actually go through now, because it is just so bad. But I start going to court. Now, they're telling me, oh, if my lawyer came to visit me one day talking about, oh, if I said today, oh, I could get you 10 years, I tell you that you should fire me because I would be a crappy lawyer, you know what I mean? What does she do? I go to court a week later and she tells me 15 to 18 years. I looked at her like, are you all right? I told her not to go into the pretrial conference. I told her not to find out what time I want. I don't want to know. I want to go to trial. That's that. I want to fight this until the wheels fall off and we're skidding along the ground. Barney Flintstone this shit, bro. I don't care because I'm not taking the deal. I don't want to go to prison for the rest of my life for this. So I fight it. I'm indicted on so many different things. You know, armed home invasion, armed burglary, armed assault with intent to murder on 2 counts, assault and battery with a dangerous weapon and deadly weapon, knife, knife, gun butt, hammer, shod foot. You know, I must have been an octopus to be using all these things, let alone they're duplicitous, but it's just impossible for me to be using all those things. They didn't drop one of those charges. I ended up copping out to a deal of 5 years open probation on an armed home invasion, and I'm looking at the rest of my life in prison as we speak. If I get arrested for farting, I am going to jail for the rest of my life. It's insane, like that. Just to even think about that. I already did 12 years, and I am still now facing the worst part of it. Don't do what I did. Don't do what I did. What I did is not cool. It's not honorable. There's no stripes involved in it. It was a savage deed, and it wasn't what I meant. It wasn't what I intended.